Okay, good morning world. It's about 7 o'clock on the 10th of May 2022. The internet says it's about 38 degrees. Yeah. It was warmer in Texas back in March when I left. Why am I coming to California to freeze my butt off? I don't believe the advertising as much as I used to. It's just not right. Anyway, the sun is up. I can't see. Yeah, it's over there. Okay. Yeah, man. Pretty nice day so far. It is warming up already. As soon as the sun came up, I'm like, peek my head up. Oh, good, here it comes, There is some clouds, but not a lot of clouds. I think we'll be okay. So let's show you the setup here. Stuff kind of strewn around because I keep moving stuff. So what I did is I disconnected the trailer and I took these are tent poles for a tent I didn't bring, but I kept the poles. I was going to use them to rig a shelter if I needed it. So that's for the army tent. Anyway, plus it's got a piece of plastic stuck into the end of it, so that's why it doesn't look very straight. If it shows up at all, I'm not really sure. Anyway, so by disconnecting the trailer, I got the thing standing up on its back basically, and pretty good angle for the sun. It's getting almost 2 amps of charge already, which is good. Yesterday I was at about 34 volts, and by yesterday night it was up to 36, so it's got a ways to go, but I think these will show up better so you can see. That's the edge. This is the solar panel array installation. I saw a sign for Solar Ranch. That makes more sense probably. Okay, I can see it in kind of like in the pocket behind the hill here is the end of the installation. So it goes all the way across. And there's several different sections. So that this has got, a big swath. And then there's another one over here. And I think there's another one over there. And then there's another one over there. And I think there's one on the other side of the highway. Which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so the bike, the issue is the bearing that's in this, what they call the bottom bracket, that's what the pedals are on. It's got some slop, which I could adjust that. So if I was at home, I have 100 bearings of about 6 different sizes that I bought when I was starting to rebuild the other bike. It's at the point now, this shifter is completely worn out. The grip around the shifter that you twist, it doesn't engage anymore, so you're fighting with that. This one is starting to wear out. You can see it's getting all smooth. This one at least works. That one really doesn't work. This sensor that tells the computer when I'm pedaling quit working a couple days ago. From here back, the bike is bent a little bit. I didn't really notice it until I was on the trip, and you're like trying to line things up, and the wheel, if you look at the wheel and if you look at the seat post, it's offset about half a wheel width or something like that. It's just like, really? I've already replaced this part. This is the 6-speed. I had a 7-speed. The 7-speed quit working. This one's got broken sprockets, I think. Yeah, a couple teeth on the sprockets are broken, so when it's shifting, sometimes that gets goofy. This one works okay. This is the one that doesn't really work very good. I end up stopping and reaching down with one hand to help move it, and then I have the other hand on the twist grip to make it shift. Back brakes are good because these are new wheel. Front brakes are good because they're a disc. That's pretty solid. This is the one I welded. That's been working pretty well. Yeah, okay, so that's kind of the status is, if I can find a decent price on a decent bike, I'll just buy it and then move my electrics over. And I don't want to spend 4 days in a motel waiting for parts again. So that really messes with your momentum. Basically, we'll find, at least talk to the nearest bike shop and see what they got. There was a bunch. The other option, about 80 miles from here, is the nearest Walmart Supercenter in the direction I'm going. I would actually have to go a little bit further south instead of, I should be turning north when I hit the coast, but I'd have to run south for a little ways. But that one's closer. Could pick up a $100 bike there and then put all my parts on it. One possibility, if I just got a basic bike, the front fork off of this bike would probably fit on the next bike, and it's already got the brakes figured out. So that would be an option. I need my brake levers because they have the electric switches that tells the computer when I'm hitting the brake. But I could take the shifters off the new bike, take the new grips. These were brand new when I left, but all the times the bike is tipped over. They're both worn down. See how much the clouds affect us. Sun just went into a cloud, but it doesn't look like a very big one. It's almost still cold. I think I'm going to have a tailwind. It's coming more or less from that way, and I'm going this way. So let's get going before it changes its mind. I got up at 39 volts. That was pretty good. 41.5 is full, but it was only 34 when I parked last night, so that's not bad at all. I just wanted to get a last shot of this now that the sun is a little bit higher. I don't know if it's going to show up on the video, but the panels are in rows going, oops, my finger's too big, going this way, right? And they're all tilted towards the sun. And last night they were tilted away from me. I didn't see when they changed, but they are tracking. So they're getting as much efficiency as they possibly could. Yeah, this almost makes up for all the oil wells on the other side of the hill. All right, let's get on the road. Anyway, so we're doing good. Bit of a tailwind, gotta love that. Just kind of in some rolling. I was camped back that way, about 1.5 miles now. I just wanted to get a close-up of the solar setup here. Okay, so you can kind of see that they're all angled, oops, this way right now towards the sun. And they go off about as far as you can see from here. And then here's some more. And some more. Yeah, this is just amazing. Anyway, what I stopped for is this installation had a sign. California Valley Solar Ranch. And it's at Boulder Creek Road. If anybody's out this way, this is Highway 58 still. So I'm cruising through here, everything's good. I go to stop, and just the last second I see a hole, and I managed to not hit the hole, and then I twisted my ankle and I went down and just crashed. Oh, you can't do this. Anyway, scuffed up my knee a little bit. Probably die of something. Yeah, I just was like, really? You know, you're gonna... Anyway, there's your shot for the day. And yeah, there's my next camping option. Didn't know it was there. All right, let's get out of here. Just had to get a shot of that. Pretty cool. Slam on the brakes. Ah, mailbox. Okay, we're about 30 miles or so from the west end of Highway 58. Santa Margarita, I think, something like that. San Luis Obispo is a little bit south of there. I may not actually go to San Luis Obispo. I don't have any reason to necessarily. I just thought this was a really neat valley. Had to come down a pretty steep hill coming into it, and I'll probably have to climb back out of it. So that's kind of a bummer. Man, these trees are awesome. Huge. nice to see. Alright, moving on. I just realized I hadn't really done much for scenery except for all the solar panels. Well, the wind has been kicking up a bit. This was blowing, and literally as I stopped, the wind stopped and it grinds to a halt. Anyway, the tail fin, the Aero Motor of Chicago. Or Air Motor, A-E-R motor, looks like. Well, it was going. Anyway. Try to hold one hand on the bike so it doesn't try to run over me here. It's kind of cool, just enough trees to give you some texture. And I'm stopping to let the brakes cool down again. Cannot seem to find a nice easy in-between hill that's just, let me coast all the way down and not go 400 miles an hour. Seriously, if I keep doing this, the motorcycle, the brakes on the motorcycle, that would be what I need. That would be pretty cool. Be some interesting work making that come together though. Okay, it's getting pretty windy, so I'll try to do this up close where I can hear it. It's about 6 o'clock, it's 60 degrees. I did 52 miles today. I got to the outskirts of Santa Margarita at 5 o'clock. I'm about half a mile out of town. I was trying to get into town. There was a bike shop in town. I'm not sure how much stuff they had. There wasn't a lot of reviews on them. But that was the first one I could see. So I figured I'd give it a shot, and I just completely burned the battery trying to get here. So I was like, I saw this little spot. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just sit there. So we'll go into town in the morning. If that place doesn't have a bike shop, there's another place about 10 miles away. So I figure I'll just get as much charge as I can. So let me show you the digs here. Okay, so I'm riding coming up the hill and I see this and I'm like, oh, that is just so funny. So the city or whatever made the approach. There's a stop line painted and a stop sign, and it like ends right there. And a vacant lot with pickets, survey markers, but it doesn't look like anybody's been here for a while. You know, those tracks could have been there the last time it rained and then nothing, right? So they're obviously not going to build between now and tomorrow morning. So I think we're okay. Once I get the battery charged, I'll put the trailer back behind the tree a little more, but I'm like, well, it was more important to get a charge right now. And looking at it, I think I'm more on highway land because of where the fence is. Or I could argue that. I'm not on private property so much because I'm so close to the road. That's the idea. So this worked really good yesterday, so I did it again. I'm getting over 3 amps to charge, or at least I was when I first put it up there. The sun is getting a little low now, but that's pretty good. I was down 29 volts trying to get up some of the hills, and it got to the point I just had to walk, and I wasn't even using walk assist. I had completely taken the batteries down to just about nothing, and they're already up to 35, so that's progress. Yeah, I really was trying to hit that bike shop before 5. And at first I thought I could make it, but then I started running into more and more hills. It was just really rolly terrain. Yeah, and I started pushing a headwind the last couple hours, so everything worked against me. Yeah. This looks like a nice spot. Only California do you have serial numbers on your trees? I'm like, okay. The tree next to where the bike is has one too. And I'm like, do all of them? Yeah, I can see a tag on that one too. So I don't know if a property owner did that, or if they're numbering the trees by the side of the road, or what. That's just really weird. Okay, I think that'll work. I'm kind of ducked in behind the tree here, so hopefully the wind isn't too bad right where I am. Yeah, it's about 60 degrees now. As soon as I stopped riding, I was like, put on the sweatpants. I was wearing the sweatshirt. I think I took the sweatshirt off about 4 times today and kept putting it back on. Yeah, I kept putting it on, taking it off. I was looking at the clouds, but they only briefly would cover the sun and then blow away again. So I didn't really get a cloudy day like I expected. The forecast that said there was going to be clouds for the next couple days doesn't seem like it's accurate anymore. So, it didn't happen. Yay for that. I guess I did shoot some scenery. There was really nice scenery coming in. And just looking around, there's just huge trees here. It's beautiful. So that's a nice break. And grass, and it's got those little spear seeds that keep getting stuck in your socks. I am constantly getting those because I'm used to walking in sand now. I'm not looking at the grass. It's nice to walk on, but I'm constantly taking my shoes off and pulling all the stuff out of my socks. So that's kind of a new experience. So I guess the plan is, I was actually thinking I almost was going to get a room tonight, and then I am just pooped. I'm like, I don't even want to go into town now. I've got plenty of food, I got drinks, lots of water, so I'm like, yeah, I'll just sit out here. The sun's going to be down in about half an hour, something like it, maybe an hour now. I think it goes down after 7. It's quarter after 6 now. It was like 60 degrees according to the internet. It has not warmed up today. It was nice, good sun. I was getting pretty good solar. It just never got warm. It's going to be down in the 30s again overnight. So yeah, go to California and freeze your butt off. I'm super close to the coast. You'd think I'd be warm, but yeah, it's. I'm so used to the desert. I'd have to stop and think. It's like I was stationed in San Diego. It's a lot warmer down there. We're north of LA here. I think we're kind of roughly halfway between LA and San Francisco in that area. So we're not there yet, but we're pretty close. Basically, Highway 101 is just a few miles from where I am. I think like 5 or something. So I'm likely to try to get on Highway 1, the one that runs right on the coast, as much as I can. And I'll just follow that up to San Francisco, I think. Sometimes Highway 1 and 101 merge, and then you go together for a while, and then it separates again. So I'll just kind of play that by ear. But as far as the bike, this had me worried. I wasn't sure how far I was going to actually get. I was like 5 miles out of camp this morning, and it just all of a sudden got really hard to pedal. It just like, you could just feel everything kind of jamming up. I'm like, So I was kind of experimenting how far and how fast could I go just on solar if I didn't pedal. It's not going to be a long-term solution. You could go for a little ways, but not. I was kind of like, well, one thing I had considered, if I put what I want to do, and I kind of alluded to this on the last video, I want to put both solar panels in line, on both sticking up, so lengthwise. So the panel that's on top now, I think I'll just leave it where it is, and then I'll put a second panel behind it, also lengthwise. That way, now that we're into May, the sun is pretty high most of the day, so it would work better to have both of them sticking up. Anyway, the bearing is basically shot on the pedal crank on the bottom bracket. It's still, you can still pedal it, but you're feeling a lot of resistance, and it's just, there's not much left. And I think the best solution, if it was just that, I would fix just that. But that whole bike is just worn out. So what I'm looking at is get a new bike, hopefully a better than average one, not super expensive, but with some of the money that came in, I can go out and get a couple $100 bike and still be okay right now. So thank you very much for that. So get the bike. I was considering looking at an electric bike, but the problem with that being, all of the commercial bikes are going to be very engineered, and the nicer ones don't have any wires hanging out anymore. They look really nice, but you would have to basically void the warranty immediately and cut into the wire somewhere to hook up the solar panel to the system. Because most of them you couldn't just plug it into the charging port, because the bike won't even turn on if you're plugged into the charging port. It's a safety feature, right? So, a nice Bosch bike or something like that, would be nice. They would be wonderful, but from all the people that I've talked to that know about this kind of stuff, or the videos I've seen, that kind of a system would be very hard to work with. Also, I could do some more research on this, but apparently very few commercially made bikes are capable of doing regen. And what's his name? Justin from ebikes.ca, Grin Cycles up in Canada. He's in Vancouver. He's a huge believer in regen, and he just put out a video here recently explaining. And it's funny because most of the companies don't want to do regen for some reason, and I'm thinking there's more of a liability problem than there is an actual practical problem. So I'm not going to go much further into it than that, but every company, if you ask them about regen, their answer will be, oh, the amount of money you will save by having regen, it's just not worth it. They're focusing on that because you would only save a few cents worth of electricity. And most people are only going to ride 20 miles a day, go home and recharge the bike, and so regen would maybe give you an extra 3 miles, so it's just not worth it, right? You just get a bigger battery pack. Okay. Well, the one thing that he pointed out, and a couple of the other people that are going to be on the Sun Trip are talking about this, with regen, you can be going down a hill and the motor is slowing you down, kind of like if you're driving your car and you'd shift into a lower gear, and the motor helps slow you down, so then you're not dragging the brakes all the way, right? So what this guy Justin was saying is, yeah, you'll be riding for years and not wear out your brake pads because you're just not hitting the brakes. You can just have the regen set high enough to slow you down, and it'll basically bring you to a stop. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful, right? Plus, you're getting a little bit of free electricity. So if you kind of switch your focus, don't think, oh, I'm going to go twice as far because I have regen. You might, but you probably won't. And he had some really good case studies of that, is depending on the hill, if it would work or not, how heavy you are, there's a lot of factors, and that's probably why the commercial bikes don't have it. But just the fact that you would get something back. I mean, if it's free power, you don't care if it's only 5% efficient. You're getting something where if you didn't have regen, you'd have nothing, right? Anyway, so from what I can see, a DIY approach is probably more practical because you can get in and change things. If you go buy a commercial bike, it's not going to have regen. It's not going to be easy to set it up to work with solar. There's a few things like that. Any of the bikes that use Cycle Analyst as the main interface, the motor controller with the display, you can actually update that firmware and add features to it. Okay, it's open source apparently, or at least an open platform. So they're constantly developing it. So for somebody like me, that seems like a good way to go. Anyway, I got to thinking about it. I'm like, if I'm going to get a new bike, I don't know how long this motor is going to last that I have. So I put the word out, and I'm not sure if it's going to happen yet, but one of the people that's participating is a dealer for Grin Cycles here in the U.S. So I emailed him, and he's going to try to get me a motor from Grin Cycles. It's a really super good motor. So it's not going to be cheap, but I think I have enough to do it. So he's going to be taking his bike all apart, putting it in a box, and traveling across the country on Amtrak to the Sun Trip. And so if he's able to get that motor in time, he'll bring that with him, and he'll probably help me set it up when we get here. So but that's going to leave me in the meantime. I'm going to have a new bike, the old bike, leftover parts. I was like, oh, it's going to be... So I think what's going to happen, I'm going to try to get myself set up to a place, maybe see if I can get a room tomorrow night. So set it up that I can get the new bike, get it to the room, get my stuff to the room, and then pick through. It'll be one evolution of take all of the parts off of my old bike and put it on the new bike that I need, and then look at what can I save for spare parts for later. If it's worth saving, like I'll have a leftover wheel. Well, I can save that and swap it out if I need it. That kind of thing. And then if I get that new motor, that's going to come in a new wheel also. So I'll have an extra wheel again. And then probably anything that looks like it's worth keeping, unless I can, if I can find somebody local that wants it, because there is a couple guys that are local that are part of the event. Just give it to them, because the bicycle itself was given to me. So, it's not worth postage to mail this thing home, the whole bike. I don't have a lot of sentimental value in it. And it was an old bike when I started, so I guess that's kind of what I'm thinking is, I've already replaced the trailer, now I'm going to replace most of the bike. I think it was a worthwhile test, because I now know that I pulled a ridiculous amount of weight with that little Bafang 250 watt motor through Death Valley. The motor was still working, I just broke the trailer in that case, right? So, and the Harbor Freight batteries are still pulling strong. So, yeah, I got to test all kinds of stuff there. Now I'll start testing how long that little baby trailer lasts. It actually seems like it's doing okay right now, so we'll see. The tires are still holding air, and they don't show a lot of wear yet, so we haven't gone very far, but if I can get that thing to last 1,000 miles, I'm going to be happy. Then I'll just go buy another one. We'll see what breaks first. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this edited and uploaded. Now that we're close to town, I have signal. I didn't have signal out in the middle there for a while, so we can get this uploaded, and I'll start tucking everything in so I don't blow away. Yeah, I don't usually put my sweats on this early, but it's not warm. It's like, Last night I was pretty happy to crawl in the sleeping bag right at 9 o'clock. I'm like, I toughed it out long enough, I don't want to go to bed too early, but it seemed like a good idea just to stay warm. So at least I got a tree I can duck behind, so once I'm set up, I'll kind of take some shelter a little bit. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks very much for all the support. Welcome to the new subscribers, and if you have any questions, let me know. I can talk more about technical stuff. I had a few people commented that they liked that, so as I do things, I'll try to point it out. Short answer, the batteries, 5 amp, 20 volt batteries from Harbor Freight, the Hercules brand. The charge controller came from Grin Cycles, the guy I was just talking about up in Canada. It's a up-converting solar charge controller that can take the 20 volts from the solar panel, and you can dial in what you want. So I got it set to put out 41.5 volts. It'll stop there, which is just the right number for what I need. The motor that I'm using is a Bafang 250 watts. That was one of the surplus ones that came up on eBay. They're actually working really well. I'm pulling more than I should, and it's still working well. What else? The motor controller wasn't part of the wheel kit when I bought the motor. Oh, the wheel kit, it was a wheel with a tire and a disc brake. It actually came with the caliper. The tires had good wear left on them. The tubes all held air, even though they were used. I think I got them for 70 bucks a piece, shipped. I got 4 of them, just to have spares, because I wasn't sure if they were going to work. Plus, I was going to make a trike, and so having 2 wheels, one for each of the front wheels of the trike, was what I was trying to do. That's all that comes to mind. Oh, the motor controller wasn't part of that wheel kit. It was literally the cheapest motor controller I could find on eBay. The wheel that I'm using, it's a front hub motor, brushless electric DC 3-phase kind of thing. Pretty common for a e-bike wheel. E-bikes, there's 2 styles of motor, basically. One is what they call direct drive, and one is a geared drive. The Bafangs are geared drive, which makes them a lot torquier, and they can be much smaller and much lighter, but they do not do regen. A direct drive motor can do regen, so that's the change I'm going to make, is to switch over to a regen direct drive motor, which I'm hoping will help a lot coming down the hills, so that I don't hit the brakes as hard, because I'm stopping part of the way down the hill to check the wheel to see how hot it is. So instead of doing that, if I could just set a speed and come down the hill and be in a controlled speed and not wearing out the brakes. I mean, brakes are relatively cheap, but if you're putting so much heat into the tire or into the wheel that it's going to, overinflate it or pop it or something like that. Or I'm also concerned about warping my front disc, because when the brake failed in El Paso on the first test ride, that I think was part of the problem, is I put so much heat into the front brake because of how heavy I was. I actually warped my disc. So yeah, so hopefully the regen will help eliminate that problem, or at least make it much less of a problem. So anyway, that's it for now. As always, thanks for all your support, and stay tuned for the next one. Bye for now. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have a new bike. Yay! Sundown, about 7:35. Literally just as the sun went down, the wind just dropped to nothing, which is nice because it was cold. So I got the battery up to about 36. It was 31 and a half or something when I pulled in, so that's plenty for now. I got the bed set up against the solar panel again. At the moment I'm plugged in to the bike. So I got the camera, so I had to hook up the trailer to the bike. Now I can charge the phone off the bike. This is one thing I'm going to add on the next time I do some work on here. I need to put a hang on. What I want to add the next time I do some work on the bike is add another charge point for the phone onto the trailer. That way, if I don't happen to have the bike hooked to the trailer, I could still charge the phone. Okay. Super easy to do. I just need to do it. Well, just go buy another charge point basically at Walmart and would be set. So on the original setup on the bike, I had 2 on the handlebars, and I took one off because I didn't think I needed it, and I left it at home. That was one of the changes I made, and I'm like, well, okay. But on the back of the bike, where all the power connectors are, I could just hook it right there and we'd be fine. Because a lot of times, depending which way I set things up, like right now, this end is uphill, so I can be plugged into the bike and have the phone, like in bed if I wanted to. But I think it would be worth having another charge point on the back of the trailer. So, yeah, just another thing to add. Anyway, I was halfway done editing and decided to move things again. Once the sun went down, I didn't need the solar panel sticking out there so far. I'm still visible from the road, but not nearly as much. So, once it gets dark, we should be fine. Yeah, wind just completely died off. Yay! It was cold. All right, that's it.